Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday, August 29th. Still pretty nice weather here in the northeastern part of the country. Quite warm today and tomorrow. High temperatures not far from the 90-degree mark. A weak cold frontal system approaches today, but it looks like it'll arrive on the dry side. Very little, if any, chance of any rainfall this afternoon associated with that weak frontal system. A stronger cold front, however, arrives Wednesday night and Thursday. It could spark some shower and thunderstorm activity Wednesday night into the day on Thursday. And then a very comfortable air mass arrives here for later Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and probably right through Sunday. Much of the Labor Day weekend looks quite nice indeed. High temperatures at the second half of the week will be much closer to the 80-degree mark than the 90-degree mark that we'll experience over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, let's focus in on the tropics. The tropics are alive and kicking. There's several different systems to focus in on. Here is the colorized infrared satellite imagery loop from the Penn State EWAL site. As of right now, this morning, there's 4 different systems on the table here in the Atlantic, and we'll focus in on those over the next couple of minutes. First of all, over here over western Cuba, notice this very strong convection going on right now early in the morning over the western part of Cuba. This is the remains of what was officially known as 99L, Invest 99L. It has now been rated as a tropical depression number 9, and it looks like it will hold together enough to spill over into the Gulf of Mexico and then start to intensify some as it turns to the north and east, perhaps reaching the panhandle of Florida Thursday time frame as a tropical storm, or maybe even a weak hurricane. Again, this is tropical depression number 9. It looks like it'll make it into the Gulf and then strengthen a little bit. The waters in the Gulf of Mexico very warm, not only for this time of the year, but relative to normal, way above 85 degrees in some parts of the Gulf of Mexico. It looks like it'll curve to the north and east and reach the panhandle region of Florida in the Thursday time frame, and then continue to the north and east out towards the eastern part of the Carolinas and then out to sea. Meanwhile, little spin in the atmosphere right here. First of all, there's kind of a conglomerate of showers and thunderstorms. It falls apart quickly, but right on its heels there's a little bit of a circulation you can see right here. That is actually now rated as tropical depression number 8. It looks like it may intensify enough to become a tropical storm as it reaches the Outer Banks, which is right in this region right here, in the next day or two. Again, it looks like that could strengthen into a tropical storm, reach right around the eastern part of North Carolina before it then turns back to the north and east out to sea. So a couple different systems here pretty close to the U.S. soil right now. One here over western Cuba, and another one approaching the Carolinas. Meanwhile, out here in the middle of the Atlantic, Hurricane Gaston, it is actually a major hurricane right now, reached Category 3 status. It is of no threat to the U.S. It looks like it'll stay out over there, start to turn to the north and east into the North Atlantic. Meanwhile, look at this spin in the atmosphere right here. This is actually not even picked up yet by the National Hurricane Center, but it certainly looks like a feature that should be watched, as it's got a nice circulation center right now and it's headed in a general northwest direction. So 4 different systems right here visible on this colorized infrared image. One here, one here, one here, and then Gaston, which is the strongest but will also stay out over the open Atlantic, not affect the U.S. Well, as if those 4 systems are not enough, there's actually several different systems to focus in on in the far eastern Atlantic and over the western region of Africa. This is the west coast of Africa. This is the latest visible satellite image from the Penn State EWAL site. Numerous waves out here that we'll have to focus in on over the next several days. One right in this region right here. Another wave right in this area, a third right here, and finally, perhaps the strongest of all, right in this region, right here on the far eastern edge of this satellite image. This is an important wave. Some of the models really have this taking a southern route. That is always more ominous for the Caribbean Sea and the U.S. It generally favors it generally increases the chances of it reaching the U.S. East Coast rather than taking a northern route out into the open Atlantic like Gaston has done. So this is something we'll watch. And of course, all of this is in the long range. We're talking maybe 10 to 14 days out before something like this could affect the U.S. But again, the tropics are alive and well. It's not unusual. The climatological peak for the hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin is right around September 10th, let's say middle part of September, and it certainly looks like Mother Nature will hold up its end this particular year with a very active pattern as we end the month of August and go into the early and middle part of September. Well, let's now focus in on the eastern part of the U.S. using last night's 0Z GFS model run. We'll look at forecast maps for this evening, Monday evening, and then 24 hours later, and Tuesday evening, and then Wednesday evening and Thursday evening. First of all, by this evening, high pressure continues to dominate the scene for today into tonight. A very weak cool front approaching, but it should come through on the dry side. A little bit of a couple areas of precipitation depicted here by the GFS in the northeastern part of the country, but for the most part it looks like today will be a rain-free day with very warm conditions. Meanwhile, down here over the Gulf of Mexico by this evening, GFS starting to pick up on that low pressure area, that tropical depression 9 that will exit Cuba and enter the Gulf of Mexico, the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico. Notice also a little swirl in the radar echoes here, or the precipitation pattern. This is tropical depression number 8, and this is slowly moving to the north and west towards the Outer Banks and eastern part of North Carolina. Well, here's the forecast map for tomorrow night, Tuesday evening. Low pressure, tropical low pressure here now over the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico. And again, Gulf of Mexico is very warm this time of the year and very warm relative to normal. Lots of areas over 85 or 86 degrees, very conducive to some intensification, and we do expect this to intensify slowly over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, high pressure still hanging on here in the northeastern part of the country on Tuesday and Tuesday night. Notice out here the reflections of a cool frontal system with some precipitation depicted by last night's GFS model run. Well, here we go, the forecast map for Wednesday evening. By this time, that tropical depression perhaps reaching tropical storm status, or perhaps even weak hurricane status as it slowly pulls to the north and east on its way. It looks like for this region right in here, of course, this is several days away, but right now this is GFS forecast for Wednesday evening, again generally moving in this direction and slowly intensifying. Meanwhile, that area of moisture, still some pockets of heavy rainfall here off the Carolinas, a little reflection of an inverted trough. That looks like it could become a tropical storm as it reaches the Outer Banks over the next couple of days. Well, finally, here's the forecast map for late Thursday night time frame. It looks like that tropical storm or weak hurricane will make landfall in the panhandle region of Florida. If indeed it reaches hurricane status and moves ashore in Florida later this week, it'll be the first hurricane of any intensity to reach Florida since late October of 2005. That's an amazing, unprecedented streak for Florida in the record-keeping era. The last hurricane to come ashore in Florida was Wilma in that unbelievably active year of 2005. Late October of that year, Hurricane Wilma came ashore as a major hurricane in the southwestern part of Florida. Again, by around Thursday, there could be a hurricane reaching the panhandle region of Florida as this tropical depression number 9 intensifies over the next few days. Meanwhile, low pressure depicted here over the western Atlantic. This is what would remain of what is now tropical depression number 8. It tends to reach the Outer Banks and then curve back away from land out in that fashion right there. So a couple different tropical systems that will affect the East Coast over the next several days. Meanwhile, some rainfall depicted here. Again, this is a Thursday evening forecast map. Anytime from late Wednesday night into the day on Thursday, there could be scattered showers and thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic region as that next cool frontal system moves in. Strong high pressure here shown in south central Canada come late Thursday. We'll head in to the northeast U.S. for the weekend. It looks like a very nice weather starting the Labor Day weekend, certainly Friday and Saturday and probably Sunday as well. Quite nice indeed. Again, high temperatures late this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday time frame, much closer to the 80-degree mark than the 90-degree mark that we'll experience over the next couple of days. So pretty decent weather pattern here in the mid-Atlantic region, but the tropics are alive and well and will have to be monitored closely over the next several days. That's it for now. For VencoreWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.